Hello, everybody, and welcome to Trap Thursdays with me, Grimtooth. That's right. You probably thought I was down in Trapsylvania, but no way. I'm right here on the interwebs, ready and in your face to talk to you about my new book that's coming out, Grimtooth's Old School Traps, both for DCC and 5th edition. That's right. So, who better to talk about some traps than some of the people that helped me put this book together? And my first guest, you may know him. His name is David Williams, and he has done some editing for Goodman Games as well as written a monster or two in Dungeon Citizens. Uh, is that him coming? Is he here yet?
Hello.
Oh, hey, there you are.
Howdy.
Welcome.
Thank you,
Uh,
Grimtooth. It's great to
me.
be here.
Oh well, I'm glad to have you here. I'm glad you got through the corridor of chumps. Most of
Yeah.
them don't make it, but it looks like you did, and without a scratch. So congratulations.
Well, and welcome to the interwebs. I hate to break it to you, you're not the only troll on the internet, but you're probably the best one. So
Well, flattery will get you everywhere. I'm gonna have to find these other so-called trolls and make them pay because they didn't do their due diligence and they didn't come to me and pay their respects first. So out there in Twitch land, if you got any questions while we're doing this, feel free to bring them on, and I'm gonna try to pay attention. And if not, I got Grimtina on the line, and she's gonna let me know, if there's anything I missed. So here we go. Let's start, David. So you're working on the 5th edition portion of this book. Is that correct?
that is correct. Yep. 5e.
Excellent. So this is different from some of the other books because all this is statted up. We got stats in this one, which is amazing. Usually, it's not that way, but this time we're really ramping it up. So I'd like to talk to you about a couple of your favorite traps here. Which one would you like to begin with?
Let's start with the roulette room.
The roulette room. One of my faves. Can we pull that one up on the screen there for us? Let's show them what. Do we have a picture of that first off? No picture. Oh well, that's a paddling. All right. Well, let's just talk about roulette room, shall we? Give us a
Don't
little
worry.
description.
I'll paint a picture with words. So here we go. So essentially you walk into a room, there's a
That's
treasure
my
chest.
favorite part.
Yep. Step 1, enter the room.
That's one.
Step 2, you see a treasure chest in the center of this room, but it's actually a false chest. It's a switch.
Oh,
Causes the entire room to start rotating wildly. And so you get the bonus of the centripetal force causing, nausea, knocking people around,
oh yeah, they're
disadvantage.
throwing up. There's
Yeah.
just splatter everywhere. Love it.
So, not a ton of damage just from that, but really the nefarious part of this trap is since there allegedly is a lot of doors leading into this. So once you get spun around enough, you're not going to know which one you walked in and which one you want to go into next. Kind of adding insult to injury there then is some of those doors might close as party members go flying through them. So you also separate party members.
Right.
And hopefully those rooms that they get flung into have, some traps or other deadly
Or a
threats
beastie
of
just
their
to
own.
gobble them up, or
Yeah.
some sort
Yeah.
of sarlacc pit. That's usually my favorite thing to throw into a random pit. Just gobble them up and don't have to worry about the waste.
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be that big if it's big of a threat. If it's just, one monster and a hero all by himself, that's bad
Exactly.
news. So yeah, that one was a lot of fun just because it really can just take a party that's very organized, kind of go on a set path. They know where they're going.
I've
Now
never
suddenly
heard of
they
an
don't.
organized party, but go
That's
on.
true. Well, mythical situations, I suppose.
Right. So,
Um,
how is that one in 5th edition terms? How's that one like statted up? Let's say.
so that one actually wasn't terribly difficult trying to figure out how to make it work. it was more just, again, trying to put some parameters on there, just giving the GM something to work with, giving the chamber a diameter and, this many doors. So this one again, kind of standing it up, getting it in proper order. This one was fairly straightforward. Some of
Pretty
them,
simple.
you read the introduction and you can picture it, but then you start thinking mechanics and you're like, okay, how do I, break this up? But this one, another reason why it's one of my favorites was it was pretty straightforward. And then again, in terms of kind of figuring out the effect, you roll for initiative on this one.
Ah,
Because an initiative count 15, that's when the
when it gets
clockwise
sprung.
revolution happens. So you do have some time to maybe start, you hear a click, maybe you get some time to start figuring out what's what. But generally speaking, yeah, the doors open, people start flying. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's
that's a fun one. It's a carnival
hopefully
ride.
chaos. Yeah.
It's one of my faves.
And don't need to be this tall to ride it. Gnomes welcome. Anybody just walk on it, walk right in.
All right, now we got some more from you. Let's bring it on. What's the next one?
Sure. Let's talk about the elevator.
Ah, the elevator. I got
So,
I got two or three in Grimtooth Castle. You got to pick the right one, or you won't get down here to level 25 where I'm at.
so with the elevator, I had a couple of traps where they're kind of do nothing traps. Like if you just kind of slow down and don't overreact or maybe even react at all, you're probably going to be okay. And the elevator was one of my favorites of that type of trap because essentially you're in a crude medieval lift, an elevator.
Of course, yeah.
It gets stuck between floors, and a disembodied voice tells you just stay calm, don't move. Someone will be there to help you, which might be good news, but it might be bad news if you just, ripped off the owner of the dungeon and are trying to abscond with some precious loot.
That's right.
Um, so one of those where, if you wait, you're probably going to be okay, but any attempts to, smash through a ceiling, the floor to climb out, you learn much too late that this is a sealed container, and now this noxious yellow-green gas, chlorine, starts flooding from the
Mm.
formerly airtight shaft around the elevator car. So
That reminds me. During World War One, I sold a lot of mustard gas during that time. That was me, by the way.
that
So
was you. Wow.
yeah. You can thank me later.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure someone will have some words for you.
Oh, I will. Yeah, I've gotten a bad letter or two since then. So yeah, the elevator, wizards love it. So if there's any wizards out there, call me up 1-800 Grimtooth Traps. One of my goblins will take your order and we'll get it, we'll build it for you. You don't have to do anything. Hassle free. That's what I like. So
What was
I'm sorry, but we can continue with the elevator.
Yeah, just again, and I think people just waiting around, impatience, maybe a little bit of claustrophobia. Who wants to be stuck in an elevator for any amount of time? If that wasn't psychologically traumatic enough, we do have an adjusting the threat option, the damned if
Ooh.
you do, damned if you don't option, which adds a fear of falling to the mix, where
Oh yeah.
after a certain amount of time, the thing just plummets down the shaft. So if you wait around, you're safe for a little bit, but if you wait around too long, it's going to fall and you're going to get, some fall damage and, some chlorine to top it off. So yeah, that one was a lot of fun. And I, as a sidebar for that one, even came up with, who might show up if you do wait around and quote unquote help comes, it could be pretty mundane or it could be someone who's not too happy to see you. So
Nice,
I
nice. A
love me a
random, a
good,
random chart
yeah,
the
yeah,
team can
yep.
roll.
Exactly. I love me a
Very
good
cool.
roll chart. So, pick and choose or just let the dice decide.
Excellent, excellent. All right. I heard you did an item or two. Let's talk about one of those.
Sure. So let's talk about the old smoky torch.
Ah, a classic.
So what's beautiful about the old smoky trap is it's a mundane item, right? Everyone has torches. It kind of is, part and parcel of being an adventurer. You got your torches, but what if one of them looks like a normal
Unless you
torch?
got one of those dirty tieflings that's got like, I've got night vision. I've got night vision. Yeah, I hate them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to have at least one, one human or one,
I
dark
guess.
vision companion who, is gonna blow your chance with stealth by walking around with a torch. But
Each their own. Yes. All right.
but
So
the beauty of the old smoky torch is that it's an ordinary torch for the first 30 minutes, but then it switches from producing flame to billowing out black smoke that magically blinds you, potentially, poisons you depending on how you do on your saving throw. And it's gonna do that for the duration of the torch. And there's not a whole lot of ways you can thwart that once you light that baby up. So
yeah, and that happens. That doesn't happen right away either. It's
no.
got to wear down, right? So
Yeah.
you're wandering through thinking you got an average torch, and then
Right. You might even be in the midst of combat when that trap triggers. So that's kind
right.
of a portable one that the inconvenience of the magical darkness, that's even going to affect that pesky tiefling you referred to earlier. That's no fun for anybody. Except for the monster who has true sight, who's probably fighting, you just happen to encounter halfway through the dungeon.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you could even level up your old smoky torch and get an old sparky torch. Ooh. Which you still got the magical darkness, but then there's some lightning damage that spurts from it sporadically and could very well paralyze people nearby, including
is that a new one, Sparky Torch? I don't remember this.
Yeah, that's you always got to ratchet it up, right? So you can.
So we got a couple of variations here.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. So depending on how how cruel your GM is feeling that day, maybe it's the old smoky, maybe they are going to give you the old sparky torch. So
nice. All right, excellent. It's hard for me to see here on this computer machine, but I think you got another item to tell me about, right?
Yes. So I don't know. I really got a kick out of some of these item traps, the cursed items. I think you walk into a room, you're in a dungeon, you're in enemy territory. You're gonna expect a trap or two. But if it's something that you've been carrying with you for a while, whether it's a torch, maybe it's even your equipment, you're not expecting it coming from that angle. So I'd like to talk about the Achilles shield as my next trap. So that's that on the surface looks like a beautifully crafted shield. It's a +2 shield in 5e terms, so it's not something
pretty good.
You're gonna take it with you. But of course it's cursed.
Of course.
So whenever someone attacks you with melee or ranged and misses, presumably your shield helping you out there to absorb some damage. So every time you successfully dodge an attack or miss an attack, you have to roll a d20. And if you get a nat 1 on that, then instead of missing, the attack hits you, deals double damage, and your +2 shield is destroyed. Oh. So it's a good shield until you hit the wrong spot on it, and then the thing just crumbles, perhaps at a most inopportune time.
That's right. Yeah. Let's get a spear jabbing right into you. Now here's the question I've got, and maybe the audience has too. So 5th edition has this silly thing they call death saves. Like, what is that? How do you save from death? Anyways, how does that work with some of these traps here that are deadly, like the shield, for example?
So I feel with the shield, I guess the saving grace of the shield is once that is destroyed, it's gone. It's not gonna. I mean, you lose what was potentially helping you quite a bit until that natural 1 roll, but then you're kind of freed of that cursed item. Whereas some of the other ones, maybe not so easy.
Let's say maybe for the shocky torch, the sparky torch. So that one, in back in the day, let's say, it would be a save or die, but let's say you're just
Yeah.
taking lightning damage maybe from this one,
Yes.
and that's just going to wear you down because
Yeah. You're gonna automatically fail some throws if that's still, sparking after a party member goes down and
gotcha. Do
they're
you
in
even get
range of
like
it.
a
So
disadvantage savings throw, or is it just automatic lightning damage?
those ones, because you wouldn't be able to make a saving throw while unconscious, you would just be taking that damage.
Okay,
So, you
nice.
don't even make that count. You're gonna take damage and fail two death saving throws right off the bat.
That's
So
what I want to
uh,
hear. That's what I want to hear.
so again, some of these very small things, it's really, I think, gonna come down to timing and just the chaotic and unexpected nature of some of these cursed items is kind of what really is going to make a story worth retelling, either in this life or the afterlife, depending on what the how
Exactly.
things shake out. But of
Now you
course, with the Achilles shield, that's one person on the shield gets a thinks they've defended against a hit, but then it
wham.
shatters and they get hit. Well, you can again, decide, well, maybe they don't have the Achilles shield. Maybe they're carrying around the Achilles shredder,
Mm,
which again looks like a very nice shield, +2 shield. But this time when you roll a d20 and you get that one, it doesn't crumble, it shatters and metal shards fly out, hit those around you, including
nice.
fellow party members. So again, just a little bit more, you know, spread the damage around a little bit, increase the chances of someone's bad day getting a little bit worse.
I like it. I
Um,
like it.
and what was a lot of fun with a lot of these traps too was not only the traps, but trying to think of why do they exist? Who would use this? What might be your encounter where you use these? And I had a lot of fun with the Achilles shield, just kind of imagining and putting in a sidebar, a bitter blacksmith's rebuttal, where you get to a short story here, a little retelling of a dwarven smith who, somewhat of a pacifist, doesn't necessarily want to be in the war effort, but is coerced into it. This is his revenge. This is his, you're forcing me to do this. I'm working for the enemy here. I'm going to sabotage, and you're not going to know it till it's too late.
All right. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Do they all do a lot of these? You may not know, but are we throwing in a lot of these little tidbit stories, backgrounds? Because that sounds very interesting.
I tried to whenever I could. Again, because when you're working on these, it's hard not to get inspired by them. It's hard not to, at least for me, start building a story around, well, why,
Right.
who thought of this? Or, even in the roulette room, I came up with a sidebar where, okay, so this is a room that has roulette. What are some other fun themes, like gambling themes, that, if you wanted to have a theme, especially if they're flying into other rooms, maybe there's other, gambling themed scenarios like dicey dice or poker panels, the
Right.
one-armed bandit, which happens to be a modified flesh golem. So again, just this idea where, yeah, this is kind of a fun room, but how might I pair it? And you could essentially build a cursed casino out of some of the ideas, sort of those add-ons of kind of, just again, you want to give the GM as many options. Maybe the roulette room works well on its own for what it is, but if you wanted to really just say, hey, here's someone who really, here's a villain who really likes games of chance, really wants to let luck decide, his fate or her fate or in everyone's. You might want to just build upon, that first concept of the roulette room, and then, you know, go for
I'm
broke.
envisioning something maybe a whole something you could throw into X crawl perhaps, and it could
Yeah.
be
Oh,
like
absolutely.
casino themed X crawl or
Yeah, I
something like
think a
that. That'd be
lot of
great.
these a lot of these traps would be right at home in the X crawl. I think some of them get so convoluted and they're just beautiful in their maniacal mechanics where it's like, yes, that is what it's for. Someone built this specifically to watch someone fumble and suffer through it. And yeah, I think X crawl, a lot of these would be, yeah, perfect for those types
I'm
of
a big fan of suffering. Big fan. All right, you have one more room we can discuss,
I can see what
or
else.
or
I mean, I can give you. Uh, the blotto motto is another one that kind of sticks out in my mind.
Okay.
And I appreciate complexity, but I really appreciate simplicity. If you can make it just pare it down to like its core components, and the blotto motto, or perhaps it's pronounced blotomoto. I couldn't swear to it. But this is kind of a modified Indian monkey trap where, the monkey puts, the hand in, grabs onto something it wants, is not intelligent necessarily to release the grasp to be able to pull the paw out again. So with the blotto motto, again, just elegant in its simplicity. This time, it's a see-through container. Maybe it's a diamond in there, but whatever that prize is that, the intrepid delver pushes, their hand in, it is coated or either coated with enchanted powder or enchanted itself with an enlarged reduced spell. So your hand grows for the set time of the spell, and you're not getting it out of there until, it wears off, or maybe you expend a spell slot to dispel the enchantment. And that's going to compromise you for the, next little while if a battle ensues, because, now an alarm is going off and you tried to steal a prize, and now you're trying to battle with, your dominant hand stuck in a
This
stuck
is
in
this
this
is a great
container.
one for grandmothers too, to keep, those little brats out of the cookie jar. So,
Yeah.
another, just one more reason why everybody should head over to the backer kit page and sign up for this new campaign starting up. We got things for grandmothers, all ages. Definitely fantastic.
Yeah, and
Oh yeah, look at that. It's in the chat right now. Go click on that button, or else. All right, sorry. Got it. I had too much coffee over here. All right.
I was just gonna add to that one again, writing these and just getting inspired by them. I thought of some other swell solutions where you could be using that enlarge reduce spell to trap people, where again something is under a grate and you reach for it, instead of your hand getting larger, your entire body gets smaller and you just fall through. And now you're stuck there till the dungeon landlord shows up, and you're just kind of hanging around in a tiny vulnerable form. Or worse, you're in a tight space and you hit a patch that has that spell on it. Suddenly now you are in a very cramped position, and again, just immobile until probably something far worse comes sneaking up from behind, and there's not a
or
whole
as
lot
you
you can do
grow, you
about it.
could smush your fellow party members against the wall.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of possibilities. So again, I think what's great about these, and from a fifth edition standpoint, you read the general descriptions. Now you have point by point how I run this. But I think, for me, the icing on the cake is, those extra ideas. How do I take it a little far? How do I incorporate it in? What are some other ways where this doesn't just feel like maybe like an island unto itself, where maybe again you can kind of spread some of those
Right.
themes
Yeah.
or
Mesh it into
situations
your
throughout.
world.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Wonderful. Well, thank you for having come on here, David. And I appreciate all the work you've done for my book. And I hope the chain wasn't too tight around your ankle.
There's cream for that. I'm faring okay.
All right. Well, that's good to hear. Good to hear. I've got a couple of copper pieces coming your way, and maybe a locksmith. We'll see.
I appreciate it, Grimtooth.
Oh,
Much.
well, I do what I can for the ones I love. All right. So I think it's time for a commercial break, and then we'll be back on with Mr. Daniel Bishop. So let's go to that commercial, huh? Oh, yeah. It's me, Grimtooth, and I hope you're ready for a brand new book. Grimtooth! We We got all 150 of these traps statted up and ready to go, both in 5th edition and DCC RPG. Haha, yeah. Now, I know you don't want to miss out on this action, That's why I put this code up for you to scan. It'll take you straight to the back of kit page, and you can be notified on launch day. And then, oh buddy, you better believe we're gonna have some treats for you that day. Yeah. Now, don't delay. Scan this code, or else I'm gonna get angry! Oh yeah! I'm back, baby. And this time, I'm bringing another special guest to talk to you about more traps. This time, with the DCC stats. And that is the one and only Daniel Bishop. But let's bring him on. All right. Hey, Daniel, how's it going?
Hey, Grimtooth, thank you for having me on.
Hey, I'm happy to have you here.
That check you sent me was that contact poison was great.
Oh, yeah, well, it looks like you had an antidote because I definitely sprinkled a little on that check, and also the check should have bounced, so it's a double whammy,
As they always are.
Well, let's hear about some of we've heard some 5th edition stuff here. So let's obviously we got to do some DCC because this is Goodman Games after all. Let's hear about a couple of the traps you've done, starting with the Slider Spiker.
All right, so this is I was going to say simple, but it's not. It's a bit convoluted. You're walking through the dungeon and you find a parchment target on the floor. Not necessarily any idea what it's caused by, but you go up the stairs, you open the door, slide down to a trap door with a teleporter, you open the ceiling over the parchment, you fall down, and it turns out that there is in fact a big spike in a pit underneath that parchment. What is absolutely great about that trap?
I mean, you can't go wrong with a good spike, let me tell you.
You cannot, but you could take that spike part of the trap and move it to a completely different part of the dungeon if you wanted.
Ooh, so the teleporter.
Because the teleporter. And because that gives the party the chance to go, what am I looking at here? Why is this here? And then you have that nice moment of, oh, that's why.
Nice.
Right? It's nice to throw in things in a dungeon where what it is for is not immediately apparent, but eventually you figure it out.
Excellent. I like to, we've had two confusing. We had the roulette room, and now we got this one, so we're really, the theme of this show, it seems like, has confused the party.
Well, you can use it to divide the party too. If you just put the spike over there, if they survive, their party split.
Nice. All right, what else we got? The one that got away. Let's hear about that one, Daniel.
All right. Well, as you know, as a master trap designer, you'll find yourself in this natural cave room, and there is a chair for a deep sea fishing type thing with the rod there, rods in the water, the line is tight. There's obviously something there that you could pull up. And if you are, I don't want to say stupid, foolish. If you are foolish enough to sit in that chair and turn that rod, there's a spring that you've just released. You go flying into the air, and now you are stuck with, do I hold on to the rod or do I let go? And whichever choice you make is the wrong choice. You let go and you go flying up farther, hit the ceiling, stalactites, and then fall down. It hurts. But if you don't let go, you can go farther, hit the rocks on the other side in the pool of man-eating fish.
It's a lose-lose either way.
It's a wonderful bit of overly convoluted trap making that if you fall for it, it's your fault. There is no way you can blame the judge. There is no way you can blame even Grimtooth. It is really 100% your fault.
Yeah. I did tell you to take that line. Now we got a question here. What's on
Oh,
the
yes, you
line,
did.
though? What's on the line?
There's nothing. There's
There's
nothing. It is just completely a
The line's just
horrible,
in the
horrible
water,
thing.
and it acts
When
as
you
you hold
pull
on
it,
to it.
yes,
Brings you.
you pull the line. It's connected by a pulley to the thing holding the spring from springing, and you're basically pulling the pin on the trap by pulling the line.
Right. I think do we have a picture up for that?
I believe there's actually a picture on the background in the lower left-hand corner there.
Well, I can't see it.
Uh,
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. It's wacky, it's a little bit cartoony, and those are the ones I love because you just never see it coming. So, next time you try pulling on a fishing rod, when you're out camping or something, you better watch out. You just never know.
You can imagine a more cautious group of characters trying to find out what they could pull up. But the man-eating fish causes them a problem too. So it almost encourages them to use the line. Who wants to jump into that shoal of piranhas? Probably not. Yes, it is Wile E. Coyote stuff. But probably not Wile E. Coyote. He doesn't want to jump into the pool of man-eating fish. So the easy way is to let the trap go off.
Speaking of that coyote, he was an apprentice of mine for a little while, and I tried to help him. I tried to help him get that roadrunner, and he just wouldn't listen to me. He kept messing up the traps I was giving him by 1 degree. So I
yeah.
let
Well,
him
the
go.
laws of physics don't work for him.
It's true. Cartoon law is different. With that's a whole conversation for another interview. I'd say let's keep going. We got the Trolls bridge work. Now, obviously, it's a Trolls bridge work, so this is partial to my heart here. So let's talk about that one.
And we are not talking the dental bridge work. So you are going across a metal bridge across a chasm, held up by wires. But the bridge is designed so that when you hit the center, your weight causes the center to go down. The bridge folds up. That's actually the one down at the corner.
Into a cage.
Folds up into a cage and lowers you down into whatever the judge, the dungeon creator, or Grimtooth has set for you.
Now, what would you have them lower down to? So I'm thinking of something. Let's see if we had the same idea.
Well, you're thinking like lava, but
oh my gosh, how'd you know? It was lava.
honestly, I would have them lower down into something where there is now an encounter that they have to deal with in their current condition.
True. Yeah.
Just because you've now made your adventure a little bit more interesting, you put conditions on an encounter that they wouldn't expect, and worse yet, are not prepared for.
I'm just trying to get rid of them altogether. They're pests to me. The sooner the better, but I understand if you want to keep the adventure going.
You're trying to get rid of them. I am trying to entertain and amuse and then get rid of them. So those extra steps are, to me, the spice of the adventure.
Right. Now, how is let's say, how's DCC, the trap conversion for DCC different from 5th edition, let's say? Could you give me some ideas there?
Now that question is a trap in and of itself. Obviously, if it's DCC, it's better.
Well,
which is no hit on 5th edition. I just prefer the game.
Of course.
I would say that DCC allows for a certain elegant simplicity to the design. What characters can do, the numbers don't inflate in DCC the way they do. Now, mind you, 5th edition is much lower inflation than some of the earlier editions that Wizards did. So, don't really want to hit on that. But the design for DCC is nice, clear, and the convolution comes from the circumstances, not from the rules.
Excellent.
You know,
Well,
you
personally, I'll probably be backing both. But
well, obviously, so that you can look and say, hey, this version of the trap looks this way. This version of the trap looks that way. If you are at all interested in converting things, like say if you're running 5th edition and you are saying, I would love to convert these DCC modules, I don't think you really have to. Pull out some equivalent monster stats and you're ready to go. I've done that myself, running 5th edition. Or you're going the other way and you're saying, how would you convert this? Having any kind of thing where you have an example of both ways is, you know.
So for the bridge work, is there a save they need to make? They have to do a reflex save to try to not be trapped, or is it an automatic?
I honestly can't remember. It's been a while since I've written that. But
that's just the poison setting in. Maybe you didn't get that antidote in time.
Setting in. Also, I had my own Grimtooth experience today, as you know.
I do know. I know. You failed your wisdom save there.
I had a wisdom tooth pulled out, so pain meds.
Well, you know, I hope they give you good ones.
A whole other type of poisoning. But
did you ensue a poison tooth though instead?
No.
Or a gold tooth?
I did not intentionally trap myself.
Ah, well, you know.
I had the poison tooth. I had to get it taken out.
Well, why did I pay that dentist? That's what I want to know.
Clearly, that check also bounced.
Clearly, you know, yeah, I got to talk to my accountants.
Anyway, so, I can't remember getting a save to avoid it, but even if you did get a save to avoid it, you are over a chasm. What are you going to do? Jump? Then the question is, right? Then the question is, how do you get out? If you have mechanics for getting out, because obviously they can't. Mechanics for how does it reset? Because obviously that is a trap that whoever built it wants to use again and again and again. And how do you disable it? Which I'm not going to say on that.
Are those all in the book? Do we have like rules?
For all that stuff, all that stuff is in the book. The rules for resetting, everything is in there.
Nice,
and you can avoid the trap, obviously. If you escape the trap, you're still dangling in that cage off of these wires with whatever's underneath that you still have to deal with. There is a certain simplicity to the trap, which is wonderful, but a certain usability that you can set that thing up to mess with your adventures in all kinds of ways.
Right.
Your previous guest was talking about your elevator.
Yes.
You know, so maybe you have cyanide gas down below. And you've just been lowered into that.
Well, maybe you could use it and it turns into the elevator. And then it's like, it's two traps combined.
You can do whatever you want with these traps. They are inspirational.
I love it. I love it.
I honestly think if you're reading this and you're not saying like, wow, I could really make use of that, there's something wrong with you.
I agree.
And because we've included the resets, you have an idea what it takes to make that trap in the first place. So you have a good idea who could have done it or who couldn't. Some of them are good super science traps. You know, you're looking at MCC. Well, there you go. I know it says DCC on the cover, but that is an MCC trap. That could have been Empire of the East if you're doing Empire of the East.
Yeah, totally.
There's a total science setup. They've created a vacuum somehow. Or maybe you have some really clever dwarves and you're just in DCC.
So, I think I lost my train of thought there. Yep, it's gone. I don't know. But let's we got another trap to talk about. What we got in the chat here. So how did you think of all these traps? Oh my goodness. Always looking for a way to make an item a trap. Oh well, you know, you
I
just gotta
didn't
have the
pick
right
the
brain.
I did not pick the item traps when I was listing which ones to talk about, but item traps are fantastic. There is a telescope in here that works kind of like a bad picture show, in that you get a fuzzy image and you try to clarify it, and in attempting to clarify, you let loose a trap which puts a spike through your eye and possibly through your brain.
Dirty. I love it. To answer your question, how do I come up with these traps? I have tapped in to a different dimension when I sleep. It's called transcendental meditation, and I learned it.
Transcendental.
Transcendental. Thank you. Thank you. And I heard of this fella called David Lynch. He's real weird, and I love his movies. And he was talking about it, and so I decided to use it. And this little fella came dancing up to me in this red room, and he told me about all these traps, and that's where I get my ideas personally.
I think you're older than David Lynch.
Well, yeah, of course. But I mean,
I mean, is that in the case of the apprentice teaching the master?
Well, it's possible, but I think David Lynch has lived multiple lives. Even more so, I've lived only one long life. You see, he's probably had some reincarnation throughout history.
Yes, but, probably because of traps.
Probably, yeah. Who knows? Well, let's move on to water that glimmers, shimmers, and kills.
Possibly the most evil trap that I did. You're in a cave or something like that, and there is a waterfall. The lighting is probably bad, so it just looks like a waterfall. But it is not a waterfall. It is little slivers of diamond that are falling at terminal velocity due to a teleporter in the floor, presumably, that goes to the ceiling and goes rotating forever.
Love it.
Now, probably you have nothing that can actually stop those diamonds, but they will certainly go through you. If you stick your hand in the waterfall, you are now one hand less than you had before. If you walk into the waterfall, the odds are good you are not walking out. There will be a little bit of red mist in that waterfall for a while as you cycle through. This is such an evil trap that my hat is off to you. It is unexpected. And even once it is figured out, because of the micro slivers of diamonds, the party is going to spend an inordinate amount of time trying to figure out how to collect some. Because look at all of these diamonds. And there's almost no way that they can actually do so. And if they do, they now have these micro blades that are ready to cut through anything they put them in. It's like a trap that first traps you, then traps you through your greed, then traps you through your attempt to carry it. It is fantastic.
I love it. And you could put it anywhere. It doesn't have to be per se in a cave. It could be,
it could be anywhere.
Yeah, but surrounding a tomb,
lighting.
Perhaps.
You want dim lighting.
Yes.
So that it's not immediately apparent that it is diamonds falling. I mean, there is a sporting chance if you actually check a waterfall for traps, but who does that?
Right? Everyone just assumes there's the secret door, thanks to these video games, and they're gonna go walking right in and dead.
DCC does not assume that you're going to survive.
No.
Abandon balance all ye who entered here. So that's okay. That is an acceptable outcome. Go rescue a villager somewhere and get a new character, because you're done.
Love it.
That
I
is
would love
not
to
the
see somebody put that in a DCC funnel and just like slaughter like half the party right away because they're all silly and they run straight through the waterfall thinking it's the exit out of the cave or something.
that would work in a funnel. That would work as an 8th level, 10th level trap. Like your level is not really going to help you a whole lot. That is about as deadly as you can get. It is certainly not the only deadly trap in this book.
That's a 4 or 5 skull one, right? We got the skull ratings. Too.
Yes, that is right up there.
Excellent.
But it's not the only deadly trap in this book, but it is the hardest one to figure a way around. And even if you do, then you've got these microblades, and those things by themselves can mess you up. There's no handle. There's no safe way to handle these things. You might be able to divert part of it using force manipulation or something like that.
Right.
And
dirty wizards.
Yes, but then what are you going to do? You can't pick them up. You can't carry them. You'll cut your hands to shreds trying to do that. You'll cut your backpack to shreds if you somehow get them in there. If you have, there's really no safe way to handle this. If you manage to get them inside of something that they can't cut, like they're not falling, so a metal container probably works. Who are you going to sell them to? They're like literally, again, another trap. Like, I would like to buy these things. Now the merchant is mad at you because you just cut his fingers to shreds trying to pick up these gems that you've just offered him.
Making enemies while trying to make money.
Yes, it is
Put them in the back.
It is probably the perfect trap in a different way. I mean, when we were talking about the Troll's Bridge work, that is a perfect trap in simplicity, allowing you to create a multitude of encounters. But the water that glimmers, shimmers, and kills is a perfect trap in that its simplicity will trap you again and again and again. The more you try and find a way to profit from it, the worse it becomes.
Grimtooth Perfection says Commando Solo 193. Yes, it is Grimtooth Perfection. Thank you for noticing. You will be one of the last to be slaughtered in my traps. I appreciate it.
Yeah, don't believe that.
We got some scenarios people are talking up here. I see a party member putting their hand a foot away to test the temperature and then walking through the shredder. Yes.
No, if they put their foot in, they're not walking anywhere.
That's right.
That will be the end. You could survive it, like with damage. You put your hand in, you're not going to necessarily die from your hand shredded. But
I mean, these things are going at terminal velocity. There's not really much of a chance of getting through. That's for sure.
No, you won't be getting through. Presumably, whoever sets up this trap has some way to turn off the waterfall temporarily, so that they can get to whatever's beyond.
Right.
But you finding that way, well, best of luck to you.
What's the? Do you remember what the? Since it's statted up, do you remember what the damage die is for this particular one? Is it something ridiculous? It's a couple D30s.
I know that is ridiculous. I might have even said that might even be set up as damage while save or die. It is horrible. It's been a bit, and because of meds and stuff, my memory is not clear.
I'll let it slide.
You'll have to let it slide. I apologize. I should have read everything before getting on the show, but I had the entire extraction thing going on today.
The poison setting in. This might be Daniel's last show, everybody. Okay, all right, just so you know.
Okay, you know what is really weird?
Tell me.
I am now suffering from a genetic neurological condition, which is degenerative, called spinal cerebral ataxia.
Oh no.
Yeah, well, thank you for that poison check. But it does affect my voice. Some of the previous shows I've recorded, you can tell that it's sometimes hard to hear what I'm saying. For some reason, ran the pain meds and the extraction together, I feel like I can talk at speed, I can talk relatively clearly. So this is like an anti-trap.
An anti-trap. I love it.
Yeah, it's a strange thing. So I'm going to be around for a while yet, is what I'm trying to say.
All right. Well, we need to keep you around because we got more traps to make. And more books to write.
We did a bunch of traps. If you are sitting on the fence wondering, is this book going to help my game? The answer is absolutely.
There's 150.
I had a ton of fun working on it. And it certainly was inspirational. Like, you cannot help but say, wow, I want some kind of a complex three-dimensional trap area. And that is the other thing too, by the way. It's all of these traps are not flat areas. There are a lot that deal with the fact that you're dealing with the three-dimensional space.
Right.
Which is something that sometimes people writing adventures forget. That
Right. Yeah. They keep it on a flat plane, but you got to think in all dimensions.
And not thinking in all dimensions will kill the party in this book with many, many ways.
Well, Daniel, thank you for coming on and talking about your DCC traps for my book. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me. Sorry, see, now it's starting. Thank you for letting me work on your book.
Hey, anytime, pal, anytime.
It was a hell of a lot of fun.
Now I got another check coming in the mail. Be sure to not wear gloves when you're touching this one, okay? All right. So thanks for coming to our first show. We're gonna have another show, couple other shows every Trap Thursday, and we'll be discussing more traps with more writers who started up both the 5th edition and DCC ones. And be sure to click that link so you can be aware of launch day on BackerKit. And we got a bonus trap for everybody that backs. It won't be in the retailer edition. So you get extra traps, and I'm sure there's a lot more goodies that I don't even know about because nobody tells me nothing around here. All right. And with that, I'm signing off. Again, thank you, Daniel. Thank you, David. And thank you, everyone, for viewing. We'll see you next time. We better see you next time anyways.
If you make your save.
That's right.